When I was attending Columbia University, when I first started, there were hundreds of people who applied to get into that school, and that year I believe they only accepted 211. I got accepted, but I was $26,000 short. And I don't come from a family with money. And I remember calling home and telling my mom, I don't have enough money. And the director of financial aid at the time said, hey, we got some money to put you back on the plane and send you home, but this may not work out for you. And I remember crying and crying and crying, and it was at that moment that my mom said, okay, now it is time for you to find God for yourself and know that He can do anything. And she said, before I get off the phone with you, she said, I want you to pray, but I want you to remember these words. And she said, when God brings you to a cliff, you have to trust Him fully and let go. And either one or two things will happen. He will catch you when you fall, or He'll teach you how to fly. And from that moment to where I am today, I am still flying. Hi everyone, I'm DeMarco Morgan, a news anchor for the NBC affiliate here in Atlanta, Georgia, 11 Alive, also a professor at Clark Atlanta University and also teaching at Morehouse College. And this is my journey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Hey, C10 is dead, C7A is an ad.
15 right. 3, 2, 1, and
Well, tonight, police are looking for a good Samaritan who knows a key piece of information that could help solve a double murder in Middle Five.
I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I grew up in a single-parent home. My mother and father were married, but my father died when I was 10 years old on Father's Day, and it was really tough for me at that time, but he was so instrumental in my life, so it really didn't have a horrible effect on me, but it had a bigger impact on my brother, who ended up going off and selling drugs, being locked up, in and out of gangs. Just a horrible story, horrible impact for him because he was much older. And I think because I was young, my mother was able to sort of have this grasp around me. But I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, an amazing town. A lot of people always say, black folks in Tulsa? Yes, there are black people in Tulsa, known as Black Wall Street of America at that time in the early 1900s, before the infamous Tulsa race riot. Blacks, they owned hospitals, theaters, all of that. So I come from good stock, come from a good community, but I also had my share of trials and tribulations. I went to Booker T. Washington High School. I graduated at the bottom of my class, failed my English course my senior year, and had an English teacher who told me, DeMarco, you're better off finding something to do with your hands, because in order to be on TV, you have to know how to write well and speak well, and you can't do either. And that almost crippled me. I almost broke my spirit. I remember not telling my mom, because anybody who knows anything about a black woman, you don't mess with her child. And I was like, if I tell her, she's gonna go up there and do something crazy. So I kept that secret for a long time, and it'll come full circle in just a moment. But I was in the first grade when I realized that I wanted to be on TV, that I wanted to be a news anchor when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded in 1986. And it was something that I wanted to hold on to. So when that sort of comment was directed at me in front of my classmates in high school, plus I thought I was the man, so it just broke me down. It really humbled me. That comment could have crippled me if I allowed it to. Again, I graduated at the bottom of my class. I applied to 9 or 10 different colleges and universities and was denied acceptance to all but one. Jackson State University in Mississippi City, yes. So that was my opportunity to go off to college and sort of turn it around and defeat this young man who was my English teacher. And I got to Jackson State, was on the dean's list and president's list, the honor roll, for 4 consecutive years there. My junior year, I was the only African-American at that time ranked in the nation's top 10 collegiate journalists in the country. And graduated, got accepted to Columbia University in New York, which is an Ivy League school. It was not supposed to be my story. Remember, I grew up in a single-parent home at a time when gangs and drugs was really having an impact on African-American communities, not just in Tulsa, but across the country. Finished at Columbia, interned while I was at Columbia with CBS News. I was a gigantic fan of Dan Rather, and I still love him dearly, even though some things happened to him along the way. But I was invited back to my high school as the youngest speaker at that time to deliver the commencement address, the graduation speech. And guess who was in the audience? My English teacher, who said it was impossible for me to do what I had always dreamt of doing. I know for a fact that I am not supposed to be doing what I'm doing, but it's by the grace of God that I am where I am, and I don't take it lightly. And because of that, throughout my entire life, my entire career, my mother has always said, to whom much is given, much is required. We all know that verse in the Bible. And so I have made it my mission to not just be that face, that voice on the news, but to also be giving back and making sure that little boys who look just like me, I had a Jerry curl back in the day at the time. I don't think anybody's wearing Jerry curls anymore. I hope not. But that little boys know deep down in their heart that there is nothing impossible. So to go from somebody who was basically written off even before I got into this world because of the stereotypes of African American men to where I am now, I can only imagine what God has for me next. Teaching is so important to me because it is a way that you can give back and you can see the results instantly, or a couple of days, or a couple of weeks. It was my mission and has always been my mission to teach, to prepare, to get those students ready for this tough, dog-eat-dog world, and not just the academic part of it, the book work and, oh, well, this is how you write a story, even though we do that, but to also teach them how to be ready for the politics, workplace politics. How do you survive? And not only survive, but thrive at the same time. So whenever I go to Clark and whenever I go to Morehouse, my God, it is the greatest feeling on earth to me, and I can't get enough of my students. I love them dearly, but it is a way of giving back, and I'm so glad and so grateful that I have been able to have an impact in their lives, and to see that some newsroom across the country will be a lot better because of some of the advice I passed along the way. It's a very humbling opportunity. You want to have an impact on somebody's life. How do you do that as a journalist and remain unbiased? How do you do that?
By sticking to things that people can relate to.
Sticking to things that people can relate to, but what's the voice that you have to drive through? Remember I told you it makes every story important. What's the one thing that you have to do?
Element of surprise.
Element of surprise is good. That is true.
In your writing?
Your character. Your character. Remember we talked about Ms. Johnson? Your character. That was a good character. You need to share. No, I'm good. That was a good character. You don't have a good character, you don't have a what? Have a good story. I think because in most cities, most television stations, being the young one coming in the door, you were always challenged, tested, just to see if you fit, if you belong. And most of my life, that has been my story. Does he belong? Does he deserve to be where he is? I mean, I've had a number of challenges, everything from wanting to anchor when I never had the opportunity to do so, wanting to write and tell these compelling stories, and sometimes you're limited because somebody has more seniority than you do. I've had obstacles where I've been passed up on opportunities where I felt like I deserved to go. And at those moments, I knew that was a time when I did want to quit. And I think people, especially in our community, we don't share that we're going through, that we're having suicidal thoughts, or that we're wanting to give up, that there is some stage of depression because it's embarrassing. You don't want to feel vulnerable. You don't want your mom to worry about you. You don't want your best friends to second guess you. And when people are looking up to you, especially in my case where I had all of these people in all these cities, all these markets, and I do a lot of speaking to kids and stuff, you don't want to let anyone down. But who do you talk to? Who do you trust in that moment? And that was years ago. That was a one-time thing. Like I said, I wasn't do nothing. I just had those thoughts. But I am very grateful that that happened to me. Sometimes you need to go through just to know whose you are and who you are. because imagine being in the first grade and keeping this dream all the way up until you make it to one of the biggest markets in the country, and then something happens. And it's almost like your life flashes right in front of you, because this is all I ever wanted. This was me. If I don't have TV, who am I? Now I know who I am. And I think God allowed that to happen just so I could know that it's not me, it's not managers, it's not the TV stations, it's not the people. He has the control. And I'll remind you of what a friend told me as well. You don't have to worry about key people when you know the keeper of the keys. So I had to change my approach, not my destination. And that's why I'm in Atlanta now. And I'm proud to say the first African-American male primetime anchor for the NBC station here in Atlanta in its history.